classes have you had for Mr. Oppenheim?
Well, this year I have English 12 with Mr. Oppenheim. You know, it's really chill. It's my senior year. Just cooling in there, trying to pass high school.
I haven't had him in school yet, but outside of school, I'm in this ACT prep thing. It's called Apex, and he is the English teacher for it, and he helps us out with ACT and SAT questions, and he just helps us all out. We're with Mr. Oppenheim, English teacher at Waverly High School. What made you decide to be an English teacher?
My experience in high school, my freshman English class with Mrs. Eichel, I found that I understood a great deal of what I was supposed to do and how it was a talent that I had. And then through the course of that and seeing the other, the friends of mine that were then or later to be valedictorians, realizing I could hold my own with them, inspired me to continue to excel with that, and I realized at that point that this was probably the job I would have. And so I thought, can I do this? Is this something that I see as valuable? And really just from 9th grade on, that was pretty much what I knew I was going to do.
What's your experience with Mr. Oppenheim?
Well, I haven't really had like the full experience with Mr. Oppenheim, but I expect it to be, you know, the same as how it started.
Did you have any early teaching struggles that maybe, made you think about not teaching, or like maybe just had like struggles throughout your early teaching?
Nothing that made me think that I wasn't going to be a teacher. I think any new teacher has struggles because no matter what you learn in a classroom, no matter what your expectations are, until you're standing in front of a room full of kids, you don't know what you're going to do. I've heard of experience of people leaving during their student teaching and going day one or the first couple of years, but I struggled. I didn't always know exactly what I was willing to live with in my classroom. I wasn't always great at laying out expectations. As a young teacher, you're still not that far removed from being in a classroom yourself, so it's harder to understand some of those lines and differences between who you are as the teacher and who you might have been as a student, and who your students might be. So absolutely I had struggles. It took me a while. I think probably after 7 years or so, somewhere between 7 and 10 years, and now I'm in my 21st year of teaching. But it takes a while to kind of figure out what works for you and what works for the students that you're with, and you always have to change it. It's you're different as times change, as technology changes, as kids change, but there's usually a set of core kinds of things that you know as a teacher that you can't be successful unless you're doing things in that way.
Mr. Oppenheim, he's like a really blunt person, but it's not like he'll refuse to help you. If you ask him for help, like, he'll walk you through it, or like he'll just tell you what you need to do.
Your certain type of teaching style, it might be different from your colleagues. Do you think that your certain way is a product of by yourself, or did you see it from a different teacher and you modeled it after someone else?
I tell kids that my style is that I'm blunt and I'm tactless, but I will try and always be as honest as I can be. I think that really comes from my mom, who just was with me. And there was it's not that she wasn't sympathetic, it's not that she didn't show love. I mean, I love my mom, she loves me, but it was just, you knew where you stood. And I think that's fair. I think that's what kids can appreciate. Now there's some that don't like the sarcasm, the humor that I use, and when I see that from a student, I try and adjust to that student, but in general, that's my personality. And I see other teachers who do things differently that I respect. It's just not the mold that I am. It's not something, it'd be like me trying to play a part.
Mr. Oppenheim is a super cool dude. He's a tough teacher, so we all learn, and I don't know, I feel like everybody in that class, no matter what their learning style is, he can help them teach.
And I also learned something years ago at a coaching conference where a coach said that if you're going to coach, and I think of teaching in some ways has a lot of characteristics of coaching, that you do it your way, because then your successes are your successes, and your failures are your failures. If you try and do something that is not your way, then it allows you to either blame the failures on that way, or your successes aren't your own. It's just one of those things that I found that I think that I appreciate, because I'm not trying to fool anybody, I'm not trying to trick anybody, and my goal is to teach, and I hope when students come in, it's their goal to learn, and I just want to get to those things and kind of get rid of all that extra stuff that happens and let them come here and say, this is where we're just going to learn.